Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to At America TV. My name is Aninda, one of the guests here in At America. It's really nice to see you all. We hope you're doing well and staying safe at home. If you're new here, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. On this event, we'll be having Welcoming 2022 Mental Health New Year, Newfound Mindfulness. But before we begin, how about we spice things up a little bit with a trivia? The question for today is, which of the following is useful to look after our mental health? Is it A, exercise regularly, B, minimize screen time, C, maintain personal hygiene, or D, all of the above? You can start typing in your answer on our social media because in the end of the event, we'll do a live shout out for those of you who can guess the answer correctly. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag at America's Instagram account. Now, please welcome our moderator for today, Mbak Christy Lucinelli, CMO and co-founder of the Self Hug. Mbak Christy, time is yours.
Thank you, Aninda and at America for having us. Good evening, everyone. We are very excited to be here with all of you today. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Christy, and I am the co-founder of the Self Hug. We are an Indonesian wellness company that helps individuals nurture personal growth and boost productivity in their daily life through unique wellness tools and also programs. Slide, please. Okay, so for today's session, we will be using one of our tools, which is a 3 month physical journal. It's called, next slide. Yes, this is our first product, and we'll be using this journal pages, which is a 3 month physical journal called the Self Reflection Journal. All right, before we to introduce you to our amazing speaker, I want you to share a little bit with you about our topic for today, which is mental health, New Year, newfound mindfulness. We decided on this topic because entering a new year often brings new changes and challenges. Through this session, we hope to help you to expand your understanding and experience of mental health challenges and personal growth, especially during and after the pandemic. That is why we have invited an expert to our discussion today, along with the journaling sessions. We have Gianina, a mental health counselor, who can give us all the information we need regarding mental health challenges and coping mechanisms. She is also an alum from the USL Institute of Education and the University of Illinois, USA. Without further ado, over to you, Gia.
Thank you so much, Christy, for the introduction. Well, hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to Self Help and also at America for this opportunity to talk about mental health. As we start our new year, we're welcoming the new year. It's always good to discuss regarding mental health, the importance of mental health, and how we can learn to, maintain our good mental health for the year ahead. So, like Christy has said today we'll focus on what is mental health, wellness, and also focusing on how journaling can also help us maintain a very positive mental health. So, can we just start with the slide? The next slide, please. All right, next slide again. All right, so let's jump into directly to the mental health area. Yeah, so we can see that mental health is very important. So mental health and physical health are something that are strongly correlated. So according to the World Health Organization, there is no health without mental health, right? So it's very, very important to focus on it because sometimes people often overlook it and they only focus on the physical health, the physical aspect of health, whereas mental health is as equally as important. So how is it correlated with life satisfaction or productivity? So according to several studies, it has been shown that this pandemic that we are still going through right now has caused significant impact on people's mental health and also productivity. So many professionals face the need to adapt to changes. Maybe not only professionals but also children, young adults, elders also has the need to adapt to changes that have been happening, and it can also decrease the feeling of well-being, right? And there's also a significant decline in emerging adult life satisfaction and a significant increase in mental health problems compared to the pre-pandemic levels. And it has been also shown that there's a significant association between life satisfaction and the rising psychological problems such as major depression, anxiety, suicide, suicidality, alcohol dependence, and also substance dependence. But also, some studies have shown that there is a considerable heterogeneity in life satisfaction and mental health trajectories, where it depends on people's resilience, their ability to cope with the challenges that they face. So we can say that it is also an individual level, how people face the challenge that they face, how people cope, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So next slide, please. All right. So there are some challenges that people may face, right? The first one, it could be the personal growth challenges that people usually face or often face during this pandemic. The first one would be job loss. So maybe there are some people, some individuals who had to experience job loss, or maybe for those who just recently graduated, have some difficulties obtaining new jobs, finding jobs and etc. So that's one of the challenges that people often face. And then second is also altered future plans, right? So let's say before the pandemic, we had this long-term planning of, oh, I want to travel to, to the US, or to, travel around the world to Europe and wherever that you want, or I want to get my master's degree in the US, right, or in somewhere. And because of this pandemic, things have, maybe we might have to change a little bit, right? We have to alter it. And so those are the things that people have to face by the end of the day. And also the third is the lack of social support due to this isolation. Many of us may feel like we don't have the social support that we need because we can't meet them directly face to face. We can't see our friends. We can't see our big family. We have to stay home and and just do our best to follow the protocols that have been enforced by the government, right? And also the fourth one, sometimes people often have this question of what do I do in life? Like, why am I doing this, right? What is the purpose of my life? And that's what I've seen a lot, for the past year. Many people start to question, what is my purpose? Like, why do I wake up in the morning? What do I do? Why do I do this job? Something like that. And moreover, we go to the mental health challenges, right? So all those personal growth challenges, if let's say we don't have the capacity or we are unable to manage it well, sometimes it can lead to these mental health challenges, in which include stress, anxiety. During this pandemic, about 4 in 10 adults in the US have reported symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder, depression, substance use disorders, and also sleep problems. And these sleep problems are usually very interconnected with the anxiety and with depression and also with the substance use, because our mind, body, and behavior are all intercorrelated. So everything is connected, right? When we have one thing, it will affect our physical health. Like I mentioned before, physical health and mental health are strongly correlated. So cannot, just overlook the other and just focus on one aspect. Next slide. All right. So how do we try to manage those challenges, right? So how do we try to cope with it? So according to the theory, so there are actually 4 coping mechanisms, but we can only focus on the 3 because the fourth one is not recommended for people to use, as it tends to avoid the problem or avoid the stressfulness of the event, right? So we focus on these 3. The first one is the active cognitive coping mechanism. It is where we try to change our perception of the stressfulness of the event. For example, like we try to look from a different perspective. Like for instance, this pandemic, yeah, we try to see it as, okay, we try to view the bright side of it all. Oh, maybe this is the time for us to reflect, to have the space for ourselves, or maybe have some quality time with our closest family at home. So that's the first one, okay? And then the second one is the problem-focused coping mechanism. It's where we try to eliminate, reduce the source of the stress through one's behavior. So for instance, is where we, let's say we have a presentation next week and we are very anxious about it. What we can do is we can try, increasing our practicing time, or we try to ask feedback from our colleagues, or we try to ask, from our supervisor or manager what we can do to improve, so that, it can help to reduce that anxiety. And the third one is the emotion focus, is where we try to manage that emotional consequences of stressors, right? We do some techniques to help us to reduce the stress, to reduce anxiety, to reduce maybe the sadness or the anger or the fear that we have. For instance, we do some deep breathing techniques, mindfulness exercises. We try to focus on the present instead of focusing too much on the past or on the future. And also journaling, in which we will discuss more further later on, and also doing some counseling with professionals. All right, next slide. All right, so here are some stress management practices. I'll try to cover it up just as quickly. So these are the ones that are recommended by the APA, the American Psychiatric Association. So these are some practices, some tips that everyone can do at home. And these practices may seem to be simple, to be easy, but when we try to do it, it may be not as easy or as as quick as we expect it to be. But as long as we try, know that every effort that we put, it will always provide a good outcome. So the first one is to be kind to ourselves, right? To yourself. So some people sometimes have better ways of dealing with uncertainties than others. Some people have maybe stronger resilience. Maybe it's because of their well-being or their upbringing from their family. So don't beat yourself up if, let's say, your tolerance level for unpredictability is lower than your friends or maybe your sister or your siblings. Remind yourself that it might take time for a stressful situation to resolve, and always be patient with yourself in the meantime. Second is to reflect on past successes. So chances are maybe you've already overcome stressful events in the past and you survived, right? So give yourself credit. Don't beat yourself too much. Try to learn and reflect on what you did during that event or that incident, and what was helpful at that time, and what you might like to do maybe the same way or differently this time. Maybe you learned something from the past, something that you can use again, you can utilize it again, or maybe you learn, oh, that didn't work for me, so that I can try something else. And then the third one is to develop new skills. Yeah, when life, well, we can stay calm, relatively calm. So try to do things outside of your comfort zone, right? Try to challenge yourself, from maybe trying out a new sport, trying out new hobbies, or maybe standing up to a difficult boss, some things like that, right? Taking risks helps you build that confidence and skills that come in handy when life takes you off course. And then the limit exposure to news. Okay, so when we're stressed about something, it's better to avoid the news, as it will make you more stressed. But I know it's hard to look away, especially with the social media and everything. When we scroll things, we learn news, we learn something new, we learn bad news, all the things happening in the world. But if we keep on doing that, if we keep on checking the news, it will only keep ourselves distressed. So try to limit it, maybe just in the morning or just once or twice a day, and avoid it, and just try to manage um, your habits of looking at the news. Okay, so next slide. All right, so avoid also dwelling on things we can't control. So there's so many things in life that is outside of our control, right? Sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we think that we can control everything in our life, but in reality, it's not realistic at all. So like uncertainty, like this pandemic, right? It's a very macro level that we can't really do anything about. What we can do is, we do the protocols, we do what we should do, to protect ourselves, our family, and our friends. But that's it, right? We can't simply just take the COVID away and then everything goes back to normal. So we try to get out of that habit of ruminating on those negative events. So we just focus on what we can control, and take your own advice, right? Sometimes ask yourself, let's say if a friend or the sibling, or maybe if your cousin asked and came to you, about their problems, about their worries, what would you tell them, right? Imagine yourself in a situation where you have to give the feedback, where you have to provide perspective and fresh ideas to them. And sometimes you can also take that, your own perspective, to yourself, right? Apply it to yourself. And then engage in self-care. Okay, do what you like to do. Do anything that you find enjoyable, as long as it's healthy and positive. Do that, right? Do the self care, eat nutritious food, do some exercises, get enough sleep, right? Like again, physical health and mental health are very connected. So once you don't take care of yourself, you don't take care of your body, it will impact your mental health. So, do some stress release, such as yoga, meditation, or maybe as simple as, cooking, boxing, singing, gardening, whatever it is that you find enjoyable. You know what works for you, right? And then seek support from those you trust. Again, because of this pandemic, we feel isolated, but it doesn't mean that, we have to feel that way, right? We can always seek people that we can trust, that we can talk to, just simply talk about your day, talk about how you've been, and hearing their stories can also, help with ourselves, help with our perspective, and reach out to your family and friends. Again, control what you can, focus on the things that are within your control. It could be as simple as weekly meal planning, or planning your weekend. Oh, I want to do this at home. Oh, I want to do this. I want to talk to my friend, or I want to cook something. Things like that. It's just simplest things that matter. And lastly, ask for help. So if you feel that you don't have the capacity, or you're having trouble managing your stress and coping with all this uncertainty, or whatever it is that you're dealing, there's always the option of asking for help, right? Asking for help doesn't mean that you're weak, but it's just that you need assistance in understanding your emotions, understanding your thoughts, and those experts such as psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, they can help you to develop some healthy ways to cope with the stress. Okay, so next slide. All right, so now we focus on setting intentions. Intentions versus resolutions. I know maybe a lot of people, or maybe almost everyone, could ask, what is your resolution for 2022? Right, and then we start thinking, oh, I want to be healthier. I want to work out every day. I want to eat healthy foods. I want to cut carbs and everything, something like that, right? But by the end of the day, it's quite different with intention. So let's try to differentiate the two. Yeah, so intentions itself, it is a broader sense of it. So it encompasses multiple areas of a person's life. So for instance, let's say I want to set the intention to be more creative, which we can apply to our work, maybe to our school, or our spirituality, our family, and our relationships, right? It's something that we can apply to any aspect of our life. But on the other hand, the resolution, it is something that tends to be singular things that we try to check off on a to-do list or track, right? So, oh yeah, I want to eat healthy every day, like checklist, or I want to do running every morning. Wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning every other day. It's something that we try to check it off, right? But at the end of the day, when we're not able, to the point where we're not able to check off that list, it frustrates us, right? It makes us feel, oh, why am I not? Why can't I do that, right? Why is it so hard for me to check it off, or why is it that what is the challenge? And it brings us down. So what we need to understand is that we try to set intentions and not resolutions. Okay, why? Because goals of 2022 shouldn't feel like punishment or obligation. It should be like what you intend it to be, like what you imagine, what you vision your year is going to be. And be flexible about it as well, accepting that changes may happen, changes can happen and always happen by the end of the day. So once it happens, it's okay. We become more flexible, and we become more aware and acceptance of those changes. So setting intentions allows us to be more ease and play. For instance, we can try new exercises if our intention is to be more healthy. Buying maybe new sports gear, checking out free yoga videos on YouTube, and something like that, right? So by setting intentions, we have more freedom to try and experiment of what feels good and works for you, and that's the most important part, right? Maybe for one person, what works for her or him is one thing, but for us, it's another thing, and it's fine. Sometimes we focus too much on seeing other people and seeing what works for others, but not what works for us. So that's what we need to try to be able to differentiate. Because, and again, when you enjoy doing something, we are more likely to keep doing it, right? When we find confidence in what we do, we're going to keep doing it because we feel, oh, it's something that that gives us pleasure. It's something that gives us happiness, and things like that. And intentions give room to discover again, to discover and explore what works best for us. Okay, I think the slideshow is gone, but I think I'll just continue. So, uh, we talked about setting intentions instead of, finding your New Year resolutions. As you know, New Year resolutions have sometimes often have deadlines, and it seems to be like a check off a list, right? So we try to set intentions, but how do we do it? How do we start on it? So one of the tips, the first one, is to try to brainstorm your top priority values and things that you enjoy doing. And you can start writing it down, brainstorming it in your journal, right? By doing journaling. So let's say your top priority values are, let's say, family, friends, relationships, health, quality time. And then maybe things that you enjoy doing is, oh, I enjoy cooking for my family, or I enjoy having lazy Sunday mornings at home. So try to combine those two and see which one fits for you and see which one that, oh, you want, what you want this year to be, right? Oh yeah, I want to have more quality time with my family. So maybe I can do it by cooking. I can do it by, spending my Sunday morning with my family at home and etc. Right? And then second is think about the ways that you haven't made space for the things you like to do. So sometimes we want to do some things, but maybe time limits us, maybe responsibilities, work at home, school, or whatever that is. Okay, think about the ways that you haven't made space and then make time for it, right? Make space for it. Write it down in your calendar. Oh, I want to do this. Or this year is the time where I want to start doing this. Put it in your mindset, right? Because by the end of the day, we have to start somewhere. And then, but do not put a deadline into what you want to do. So don't put like, oh, I have to be able to, run 5 times per week or 10 times per month. Like I said, if we put a deadline on it, if we put a certain threshold on it, we're gonna get frustrated when we don't reach that goal, and it's not gonna be healthy for us, right? Try to write it down using present tense as if you're already doing it. For example, like, oh, I'm spending quality time with my family at home by cooking, or I am making myself healthier by running. I am trying out something new by, painting or singing, taking singing lessons or something like that. So as if you're already doing it, so that it's becoming internalized within you. And of course, you can write that intentions on your weekly journal to keep yourself in check, right? Sometimes we have so many things in our lives that, like work, school, that we forget what we want to do. So it's always better to write it down, although it sounds quite old fashioned, but um, trust me, that old fashioned still works. That technique still works. So write down everything because sometimes we think that we remember what we want to do, but we don't. Right? Our brain has its own capacity to to maintain some sorts of information, any forms of information. So it's better to always write it down and keep track of it, maybe in your journal or in your notebook. Okay. All right. So I think we're gonna go straight down to the journaling exercises. So through this journaling exercises, maybe some of you guys have already done journaling before, have this habit of writing down in the journal. But sometimes what we need to understand is that journaling is something provides that allows us to do some expressive writing, right? It has been shown that, okay, can you go to the next slide, please? It has been shown to be very beneficial, especially in reducing stress, increased level of meaningfulness and engagement. And it has been shown as well in psychotherapeutic interventions. It has been used very much by psychologists and psychiatrists to help aid through the psychotherapeutic intervention. So it is very effective. It can be used as a learning tool. So it helps us to connect our feelings and physiological symptoms, and also as means to heal. Let's say because it creates a therapeutic environment where we try to acknowledge and welcome individuals' feelings and also process the pain as a way to heal it. Yeah, so it is the act of writing where it allows us for healing response to our mind and body interaction. Many studies have found that it is effective in school counseling, and sometimes it also beneficial to be a buffer from depression for those who experience negative perception of social experiences, building and maintaining interpersonal relationships, and also experiences of social isolation. So let's get down to it. I think, Christy, we can start on the journaling session. So maybe is there anyone who here who likes journaling, or maybe still like to write in paper instead of in your computer, on in your iPad, or your tablet? Again, journaling is very simplest way to improve our mental health, overall health, and many people sometimes misunderstand and think that journaling should be started by the word dear diary, right? And you spend hours writing about your activities on that day, and it goes beyond several pages because we write everything down, right? But journaling is actually beyond that. It really gives you freedom to writers, not only about your experiences, but to express the feelings and thoughts. Again, it's a form of expressive writing. I When I was a counselor, I did give lots of journaling as part of their homeworks, I can say, as part of their assignments, to try to write down their emotions, their thoughts every single day, even when they don't feel like they have a certain intense emotion. But by writing it down, it allows them to really pour it all out in that piece of writing, and it actually provides a therapeutic aspect of it all. Okay, so today we will try journaling and we will guide you to every step of it. I believe the At America team has circulated the journal pages, so make sure that you have it in front of you. Okay, take your favorite pen, pencil, anything that you feel comfortable, and again, make yourself comfortable in your space to write it down. And yes, so shall we start, Christy?
Yes, we should start.
All right, so can we go on to the next slide, please? All right, so maybe we can start on the first page. Yeah, the page that says set your intention. Again, remember what I already discussed about intentions. What is it that you imagine that this year is going to be, or maybe this week, or maybe tomorrow, right? It doesn't have to be as big as this year. It can be as simple as tomorrow, or maybe the day after tomorrow, this week, or this month. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is determine our intention at this moment. Okay, intention is not what you will do today, but it is your commitment to yourself that gives you meaning, inspiration, and motivation to your activities. So surely we have different intentions in participating in this workshop. Maybe one of you is following this to improve your mental wellness, maybe to improve your relationship with yourself or with others, or simply to build positive habits. So we can give them around two minutes or so.
Yes.
So yes, okay. So 2 minutes. You can start writing. Keep your answers to yourself. If you have any questions, maybe you can share that in our chat box, or maybe just keep it first so that we can discuss it in the Q&A. All right, so we'll start. All right. So I hope everyone has already written down your setting your intention on your first page of that journaling. If you haven't been able to, write it all, everything down, it's okay. You can always continue it later. Maybe you can always modify it. Maybe tomorrow, some other day. It can change, right? Your intentions may change, and it's okay too. Like I said, we can always be flexible about it. So let's try. Let's move on to the next page. So the next page says your self-reflection, right? Your daily self. Can we go next slide, please? Okay. So in this page, you can see the daily self-reflection. There are many lists. There are some um, tick boxes. So in self-reflection journals, each day it offers you a guided journaling experience, right? The question is why guided? So journaling is not really easy for everyone, especially for beginners, and we are not used to paying attention to our feelings and thoughts, right? Not alone with all the distractions in our daily lives. So with a guide, it really helps us get more acquainted with our feelings, our thoughts, and it gives this journaling process, seem easier for us. Now you have this page in front of you. So the components of daily self-reflection each have a different function. But for this session, let's focus on the three aspects, right? So try to understanding your feelings. So knowing our emotions maybe throughout the day. So because it's already in the evening, let's say, how are you feeling today? How has this day been to you? How has this day shaped your feelings, shaped your emotions? If you could reflect back on the last 12 hours, let's say, since you woke up in the morning, how have you been feeling? So you can write it down there in that area. And then the second is the gratitude, self reflection. So it encourages to understand what we are grateful for each day, what we can appreciate. And those things can be as simple as, oh, I am so grateful that I'm able to join this workshop, or I'm so grateful that, I can be home early today, those little things. It gives us, more appreciation of our daily life, and also, be more appreciative of the present moment, right? We focus on what's right in front of us, mindfulness aspect of it all. So you can list three things, maybe more, it's fine too. And the last one is the self-care menu. So you can see there are many, boxes there that maybe you can checklist. It helps you to maintain your health, both physical and mental health, such as simple as drinking enough water, maintaining your relationship with the people you care about, or learning new things that can challenge our mind. So you can fill in this daily self-reflection at any time, maybe in the morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever works for you. It's because remember, there are no rules. So keep it as natural as possible. And yeah, let's try to fill this in. Um, Feel this daily self-reflection. So this is also emotion wheel, yeah. So in the center there are the seven universal emotions, but the bigger circles, it gives you more component, like the components of those emotions. So it gives you more a variety of those emotions that you feel, that you can, that you feel directly. So once again, let's start. We can give about 3 minutes to fill in that daily self-reflection, and we can start now. Okay, so I hope you guys have already filled in your daily self-reflection. If not, again, it's okay. Again, it's a daily thing, right? So you can maybe tomorrow it's going to be different and it's okay. And all right, so the last one, can you go to the next slide? So this is more writing challenge, yeah? This may be more in-depth than compared to the other two. So we will try to take this opportunity to explore your feelings, emotions in more in-depth. So try to pour your feelings and thoughts into this activity. Yeah, so here's the question. It may be simple, but it takes time and maybe for you to reflect back and think about, what have you learned in 2021? What have you learned throughout that 1 year? And how maybe has 2021 shaped who you are right now? So, and also what do you want to focus on in 2022? Maybe after learning all the things from 2021 and what you can bring for this new year ahead. Okay, so to help those of you who may still be confused, maybe you can remember your intention for this year. Yeah, how do you feel about this new year? How has this pandemic changed you? What do you do to improve yourself? And before we start, I have some tips. So the first one, focus on your own experience. Yeah, focus on um, what happened between in yourself for the past 1 year, and as much as possible, relax and write honestly in what is in your heart, because it's only you, the one who can access that journal, right? And lastly, write for and to yourself. So be honest, and it's always okay to be vulnerable with yourself. Okay, so for this session, we're going to give you about 5 minutes to do it. So, yeah, we can start now. All right. So, I hope everyone feels, maybe more relaxed, calmer as, we've done these journaling exercises. And yeah, again, there's so many other things that we can write down in that journaling template. But again, one step at a time, right? We focus on what you want to write. Just be as flexible, be as natural as you can. So I guess that's it for the journaling exercise for today, Christy. Um, I'll return it back to you for the Q&A
Yes.
session. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Janina, for your presentation. I'm sure everyone found it really helpful and feeling more calm as well, including myself. So thank you so much. Now we will have a Q&A session to answer some questions about mental wellness. So if you have questions to Janina about this topic, please feel free to share your questions in the chat box, whether you're from Facebook, Instagram, please do that and we'll be happy to answer the questions to you. Okay, let's start with the first questions. We already talked about mental health, Janina. So if you can wrap up a little bit, what is the easiest way to understand mental wellness and why is it very important in our daily life?
Okay, so mental wellness itself. So we've talked about what mental health is, right? So mental wellness is actually a positive state of our mental health, right? And what is that? So our positive state of our mental health is our ability to recognize our own capability, our own capacity, knowing our skills, knowing what we feel, knowing our behavior, knowing our thoughts and emotions, and we can be productive using those skills and all the things that we have, and also by contributing to the society. So mental wellness is like the overall positive state of being mentally healthy. And why is it important? Yeah, like I've mentioned before, again, there's no health without mental health, right? They are very strongly intercorrelated. And as we take a look inwards, let's say to ourselves, we acknowledge our emotions, we acknowledge our thoughts and behaviors, we notice and we also accept changes that are happening. And that way, we are able to be more mindful, right, of our behaviors towards other people, maybe towards ourselves, and that's the outward aspect of our life. So there is this interconnectedness between looking inwards and how it benefits our outward life, and how we also manage stress, manage challenges better as we become more and more mindful of our own strengths and weaknesses. So that's why mental wellness is very important.
I see. So what you're saying is that if I can wrap up as well a little bit, so we have to really understand ourselves first in order to understand others, right? We have to, you know, um, have a power over over ourselves if you
Yeah.
want have a better relationship not only with your partner but your friends with your
Mm-hmm.
family as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I completely agree on that too. So as well in your presentation you have shared about the mental health challenges during the pandemic, which is also I realized that people have become more aware about their mental health, especially after the pandemic and during the pandemic. Can you explain a little bit why people can struggle with mental health challenges in general?
Yes. So based on the theory itself, right? So why a person may be prone to develop mental health. So there's this vulnerability that maybe everyone has, and vulnerability usually comes from a genetic factor. So
Mhm.
let's say since we were a baby or since we were a child, we were, excuse me, there's certain temperament, let's say that we have. Maybe we were we have an easy temperament as a baby, or we have a difficult temperament as a baby, and it affects how we are today, right? And also on top of that, there's this risk factor, our environment, right? Like how our childhood has been, how our living environment, how our family treats us, how our parents um, how are their parenting practices, their attachment with other people. So that's the psychology behind those mental health challenges. So that's why, like I mentioned earlier, everyone has their own ways and their own level of tolerance, their own levels of resilience, and everything is affected by like the genetic and also the environment that we live in. So that's why every individual has different coping mechanisms, right? Maybe some people tend to be, focusing on their emotion focused coping mechanism. Like they tend to, when I face challenge or when I face adversity, I try to reduce it by, doing journaling or doing counseling. But there are some other people who tend to be more solving coping mechanisms, right? They try to, solve the problems. They try to reduce that distress by solving that problem. So everyone has their own, vulnerability, their own, risk factor. And when a trigger comes in, so let's say this pandemic, maybe one person are more resilient, so they don't really feel anxious, or they're able to accept the situation better. But there are also some others who maybe, quite find it quite difficult to be able to adapt to these new changes. So I think that's why.
Wow. Yes, that's very interesting. So, for instance, if let's say how do I know if I have a mental health challenge? Is there any way, what I should do, and how can I even know if I have a mental health problem? Can you share a little bit about how to map that out, maybe?
Hmm. So first, what's the most important part is to acknowledge our feelings, right? What we feel, what are our thoughts, and how is our behavior. So start noticing the changes that have been happening in your life. Yeah, if you feel like, oh, I feel like every day I feel stressed, or I don't feel like doing anything, there's so many mood swings, maybe, notice that. Notice the duration of that change in your behavior, how it is affecting you, how it is affecting your relationships, your work, and your surroundings. So mental health becomes, a problem or becomes an issue when it has impaired your daily functioning in all aspects. So, you become you're unable to be productive in your everyday life, you're unable to focus, you're unable to maintain good relationships with your surroundings. So that's when it becomes very um, problematic. Yeah, bisa dibilang. So, and that's where you can start looking for help. And by practicing mindfulness, it helps us acknowledge and appreciate what is right in front of us. What is our feeling? What is our thoughts? And focusing on the present moment instead of focusing on the past or in the future.
I see. Okay. Okay, we talked already about, understanding ourselves better, and
Mm-hmm.
by, understanding the feelings, the emotion. But what if it's the other way around? What if we have, our relatives or friends or even colleagues that probably have mental health challenges, or they've actually shared with us, oh yeah, I have anxiety or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do if you can share us a little bit more about how can we help them? Is there any tips, or
Yeah.
tips that we can help them out?
Yeah. The first the first thing that we can do is listen. Listen and listen and listen. So listen actively. So be present. Be completely 100% there by, by your sibling side, by your friend's side, by whoever it is that, that is looking for help, that is asking for your help. So just be there and listen to them. Sometimes what they need is someone to listen to their problems, right? And try to avoid giving solutions because that's not what they need. So
Yeah.
really try to listen, hearing it out, giving them the space that they need to share whatever it is that they're feeling, and do not give any form of judgment, because again, that's not what they need. Whenever people try to look out for help, and try to share their issues with you, they want to be listened to and they want to feel accepted, right? They don't want to feel judged or feeling like they're doing something wrong. Like then what's the point of their, sharing and telling their stories? So just be there. And what you can do is that, if you feel that it is too much for her or him to bear, then refer to professionals, right? Because we have to understand as well that there's some we have the limit capacity to help, right? There we have certain limits. We don't have the expertise to help them in the best way that we could. So the best way that we can do it is to refer them to the professional and just being there and giving them their support.
All right. So before this Q&A session, we also had, a small journaling sessions. What are actually the benefit of journaling for our well-being on actually overall health, and
Mm-hmm.
how it help with mental health issues, for instance?
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, journaling is one technique, right? One form of technique to do expressive writing, which has been very found to be beneficial as part of a psychotherapy intervention during counseling. So, usually, in a counseling intervention, in a stage of intervention, um, counselors or psychologists ask the clients to try to do journaling at home or maybe in front of me, right? Try to write down whatever it is that you're feeling, pour it all out, because writing therapy, it allows individuals to reflect thoughts, reduce stress, in which it leads to psychological and emotional healing. And it can be used as a learning tool, and it's because it creates a therapeutic environment in which people, they acknowledge and they welcome their own feelings and also process the pain the way as a way for them to heal. And yes, it is effective in school counseling, in clinical counseling, like a buffer for depression for those who experience negative perception and also social isolation. So there are many studies that have shown the benefits of journaling in different contexts, maybe in adolescence, maybe in children, not so much because they're still learning, yeah. But maybe starting from adolescents, young adults, and maybe elders. Because sometimes we think that writing is very simple, but it is actually very therapeutic, right? So, because we have so many things in our head that we can't really get it out, but by writing it down, one step at a time, and it can be as natural as you can, right? We don't have the rules for it. It can be as abstract as you want. Just put everything out. And based on my experiences, it has been really shown to be very effective. Like many of the clients mentioned, how they felt more relaxed, how they felt calmer after doing it, especially after doing it consistently. So not only once per week or when they feel like it, but trying to do it, making a habit of doing it every single day or maybe every other day.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if I can share a little bit, when I first started journaling, obviously it's because I felt a little bit, sad, and
Mm-hmm.
then it helps a lot when it comes to, when you feel you don't know what to do, and then you just put and write down every
Yeah.
whatever you're feeling. It's really helpful. But at the same time, when I'm feeling happy and feeling fine, I actually don't know what to write. It's
Yeah.
funny, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to do now when I try to journal every day as well, and then I feel that sometimes when you don't know what to write, this is the time when you actually can reflect three
Mm-hmm.
things you are grateful for today,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's really life changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really
That's good to
helpful.
hear.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you say that journaling is one of the mindfulness practice that we can, to help or improve our mental health. But what are other wellness practices or supports that can help with mental health issues?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, journaling is one thing, but the other things that we can do is to say trying meditation, right? Meditation has its mindfulness aspect of it. So again, trying to focus on what you hear, observing what you hear, what the sounds around you. It can be the sounds of some animals nearby your house, sounds of a car passing through, or maybe your parents behind, talking, something like that. So just being in the present, right? Being in the moment. So that's one aspect wellness practice that you can do. The second is doing things you enjoy, like maybe any hobbies that you like. As long as it's healthy and positive, it's a good thing. Like painting, it's part of therapeutic technique or approach as well, right? So instead of maybe writing it down, if you don't feel like writing, okay, maybe you want to do expressive drawing. Just draw everything that you want. And you can use your colors to express how you feel, right? If you feel angry, maybe you use, tones that are leaning towards red, or maybe if you feel sad, like towards blue, something like that. So you can always modify with that. And maybe singing, just let it all go, right? Just um, screaming your throat out, or maybe cooking, so it can be anything that you feel like you enjoy doing and can give you sense of relief. So that's important. And third one is exercising. Exercising has been shown to be very effective as well. So, like running, cycling, any types of exercise actually, whatever that fits for you. And yoga especially is has been shown to be very effective, and it has also been shown to reduce anxiety levels in many studies. Um, um, it can be also done with preschoolers, children, adolescents across the age. So I know that yesterday you guys have a session about yoga, so it is very beneficial. Many people, tell me that I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible enough. So, but that's the thing about yoga. Yoga is a practice, right? It's not something that you have to be expert on. It's a continual process of learning. So that's what people need to try to realize more, like, okay, one step at a time, and then it helps you to be more focused as well. And definitely other things that you can do is to increase your social support and doing some counseling. Sometimes people tend to think that going for counseling is only when you have severe mental health problems. It's like when you have depression or when you have severe level of anxiety, but it's not. Counseling can be, oh yeah, I want to talk about whatever's happening in my life, trying to reframe all my thoughts, trying to, set it out my perspective, and asking for, a third party, right? Asking for the experts to give their professional opinion about how you feel and how you can manage your life better. So yeah, I think that's
Wow,
that.
that's really good to know about that. Like maybe if I can ask you a little bit more, what is your favorite wellness practice in this sense?
For me, to be honest, it's yoga.
Yoga? Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I started doing yoga since the pandemic, and it was quite challenging to begin with. Like I said, I mean, I was kind of describing myself like, oh, why can't I do this? Why is it so hard? It's so simple, but it's quite challenging, yeah, when you do it. But along the way, when you focus on the progress instead of the perfection, I guess it gives you more, a sense of relief, and it really reduce all the stress that I had and I'm having.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions lined up from the audience tonight.
Hmm.
Maybe let me go through it very quickly. All right. We have first questions from Shafa Aprilia from on Instagram.
Hmm.
The question is, I did journaling to record my son's progress. He's a non-verbal and still in treatment. Journaling helps me a lot to release stress as a mom with a non-verbal kid. Any other ideas I should do to release stress as a mom?
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. Um, so yes, journaling can be part of it. Second, maybe you take your me time, right? Make sure that you have a time for yourself. Plan it with your family, like talk it out with your relatives and your closest family to have for you to have your own me time. Like let's say, okay, at least once per day, I need 1 hour for myself. It can be for my journaling, or it can be for whatever hobby that you like to do, right? Maybe cooking, maybe exercising, maybe trying to do yoga, or maybe running, or whatever that is. Because it's by the end of the day, you still have to live your life, right? You still have to have time for yourself so that you are able to release all the stress, all the frustration that you may have. So I guess that's one way that you can try to do.
All right. Also, another question, pretty similar, but now we're talking about the kids.
Okay.
From Kalziska, also from Instagram. What can we do to help kids' mental health during the pandemic as
Mm.
they are most vulnerable?
Yes, very good question. Yeah, so based on my experiences, what I can, maybe suggest or recommend is that being there for your kids, listening to their thoughts and emotions, because sometimes we think that kids don't understand what the situations are, but they actually do. Like they're smarter than we think they are, and they can sense when maybe their parents or maybe their surroundings are feeling anxious or feeling stressed. They can sense it, and they can feel it too. They can feel anxious as well by seeing their caregivers feeling that way. So what we can do is try to be there, talk with them, listening to their their stories, asking them how they feel. Maybe in the beginning it's gonna be quite challenging because it's not something that people often do or people usually do. But you got to start somewhere, right? We have to show them that we are there for them. We are there to listen to their issues, to their problems, um, and yeah, giving them the support. And maybe other than that, yeah, asking them to try to do journaling maybe from early on, or maybe some drawing to release again all the stress. Sometimes drawing is easier for children. And if you want to ask, try for your child to do some exercises. Let's try to walk outside the house for like 20 minutes. Have some fresh air just to distract, just to have a different perspective for your child is also a good way.
All right. Thank you, Gianina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is another question also from Instagram, but I couldn't really spell the username. So it's mine94952. Hi.
Okay.
All right. The question is, I got depressed and tend to overthinking since my loved one passed
Mm,
in the midst of this pandemic. What should I do?
mm. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss, and thank you for the question. What you can do is that, the stages of grief, there are some stages of it, right? And don't, don't put yourself, beat yourself too hard. Try to really process that grief step by step, understanding how you feel, really trying to acknowledge whatever it is that you're feeling, and be as vulnerable as you want, be as open as you want. If you find it quite hard, maybe you can try by journaling. So try to slowly writing it down. Okay, maybe today I feel sad, or I don't want to do anything, or I don't feel like doing anything. It's okay. Try to writing it down, right? And then the next day, how you feel. Is it still the same? If it's still the same, it's fine. Just write it down. And then write it down, write it down, write it down. And maybe sometimes you can see some progress in it, maybe. And if not, it's okay. We'll try to do it and then we'll see, right? So for how long have you been feeling this way? If it's, let's say, it goes beyond, maybe 2 or 3 months and it has really impaired your productivity, your daily functioning, then maybe you can try to do some counseling, talk to a professional, really discuss what it is that you've been feeling, what is the challenge that you feel, and maybe I'm pretty sure they can help you out. Trying to map out that feelings, that emotions that you go through.
Okay. Okay, we have another two more questions, and both of them are from Twitter.
Okay.
The first one is from Steven. He's asking, as people tend to self-diagnose themselves,
Mhm.
I'm wondering what is the sign of people getting anxiety and depression. Thank you, Stephen, for ask this question because I'm also curious.
Yeah, it is a very good question. Yes, because of this, internet, social media. I mean, it's a good thing that we are raising awareness of mental health, right? There's so many
Yeah.
information about different types of mental health problems and all that. But sometimes, yeah, because we read too much about it, we tend to self-diagnose. Like when we see the list of the symptoms, we see like, oh, I think that's me, right? I think this is what I'm feeling. Like, but no, don't worry. Like try to avoid self-diagnosing. Why? Because when we self-diagnose, let's say, oh, I have anxiety, oh, I have this symptoms checklisted, it's becoming like it's called in psychology, it's called self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's like a suggestion for us. So we feel like we have that level of anxiety, and then we start showing those symptoms when we actually really don't have that levels of anxiety. And how can you know whether you have anxiety or depression? Is it's actually you can only be diagnosed by a professional, right? And it goes through a comprehensive set of assessments, maybe through questionnaires, through interviews, observations, and it's not something that, it's easily like, in 5 minutes, oh, yeah, you have anxiety. No. So it takes a process in it. So make sure if you feel like you have those kind of symptoms, okay, try to list it down and then see how long, right? How long have I been having these kind of symptoms, and affect how has it affected my life? Like, has it been very disrupting me? my attention, my productivity. Okay, if that's then, go refer for help. Because if we self-diagnose, then we're gonna, do things that we shouldn't do. Let's say we try to cure ourselves, or try to do things that may not be what you actually need, right? So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the last one, also from Twitter, from Emily. She's asking, I'm starting to get a better mental health this year. Can you suggest me what should I do first?
Okay, sorry. The first one is what? Can you repeat the question?
She's asking, I'm starting to get maybe a better mental health this
Okay.
year. States,
Okay.
can you suggest me what should I do first? Think
Hmm.
she yeah she wants it.
Okay.
Yeah.
To have better mental health. Okay. Yes. So first, take good care of yourself, right? Eat good food, nutritious food, exercise, get good sleep, self-care. That's what's important, right? And second is to always try to identify your emotions. So whatever you feel, whatever you think, try to be able to identify it and map it out, right? Don't try to keep it to yourself, or just try to repress it and expect that things will just suddenly go away, because it doesn't happen that way. So try to really identify it. Use the tools that you need. It can be journaling, it can be, again, like drawing, whatever that fits for you. Yeah. Try explore different stuff, experiment everything. Try to see what works for you. Maybe this year, right? Oh yeah, I want to try the exercising. Maybe I can feel better about myself. I can feel more confident. And feel more confident, right? And try different stuff. And yeah, and seek social support. I think talk a lot with your family, have a positive relationship with someone, find someone that you can trust, that you can rely on to talk about everything about in your life. Doesn't have to be your problems, just simply to share everything in your life. Because yeah, sharing is caring. We all need a bit of share about our life, right? So yeah, I think that's what you can do. You can start, and I guess trying to start practicing mindfulness is a very, very good way to start it, because again, we are always living in uncertainty, right? In life there's always going to be changes, and those uncertainty is where we sometimes feel down, or feel confused, because we don't know how to adapt. And by being mindful, we are able to at least take it all in, accepting what it is, and just focus on what we can do right now, instead of wondering about, oh, I should have done this, or I think I should do this in the future, or something like that. So just really focus on what you can do right now in front of you. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Janina. Maybe one more question from my end now. So you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned a lot about mindfulness, but what is it? What is it about? Like, what is mindfulness really? Because I believe some people maybe not really understand what's the concept of mindfulness, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe if you can share a little bit about what's mindfulness to us.
Yeah. So mindfulness is a state where we are able to completely acknowledge ourselves in the present moment. So really being able to live right here, right now, focusing on what's right in front of us by seeing, what's right in front of us, what the problems in front of us, and just doing what we can do right now, instead of, focusing or dwelling too much on, oh, on the past, or what had done in the past, or what might happen in the future. So completely in the present moment. And some practices, some simple practices that people usually do is, by simply observing in a room, right? Let's say when you're in a room by yourself, or maybe with someone, you start activating your senses, like your eyes, your ears, your skin, everything, and try to see everything is right in front of you. Let's say, you see a table, or you see a chair, right? See the pattern, see the texture, see the location. Oh, why is it there? Without giving judgment to your own thoughts, right? Sometimes when we are too harsh on ourselves, like, oh, why do I think this, or why I shouldn't think this way, and something like that. So just observe everything, and then observe, you know, the sounds, maybe the sounds in your room, maybe some music that you play, or maybe some sounds that you hear from outside of your room. So being able to be in that moment, right? And then maybe sensing, oh, how's the temperature is. Like, is it cold? Is it warm? Or is it just enough for you to just feel everything? Sometimes maybe if you want to eat something, like you want to eat a chocolate or something, just observe the food that you eat, right? Observe the chocolate, observe the texture, the temperature of the food and things like that. It helps you, awaken your senses and being able to be completely in the present time. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think that's going to be my goal in 2022. Practice mindfulness. Thanks a
Mm-hmm.
lot, Janina. Okay, so thanks a lot for everyone who have submitted the questions, and for Janina as well for answering the questions. It was a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for the At America team for having us tonight. It is such a pleasure to be here. So I think that's it. This concludes the workshop for tonight, and thank you all for attending. And we hope you have learned and enjoyed this session. So back to you, Aninda.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mbak
you.
Gianina and also Mbak Christy for the lovely session. It is always nice to discuss practical ways to cope with stress. All right. So, everyone, earlier in this event, we asked our audience, the question was, which of the following is useful to look after our mental health? And the answer is D, all of the above. Shout out to @AwesomeJasmine from Instagram to get the correct answer. All right. Thank you to everyone who has participated to our question of the day. Don't forget to tune in next time and get a chance to get a live shout out from us. Now, you may be wondering, how can I develop an awesome idea with a place like this? Very easy. You can send your event proposal to us by visiting our website at www.atamerica.org.id. Select create a program and go to collaborate with us. All the event proposals will be reviewed and your event might be featured here soon. While you're on our website, you can subscribe to our membership to get our weekly event updates. Again, thanks for joining us. We are on social media if you're curious about our event updates, fun content, giveaways, and so much more. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at AT America. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching us. My name is Aninda, and see you next time. Bye-bye.